Good morning. Welcome back to KXAN Live. I'm your anchor, Esmeralda Zamora, and today we're going to be doing our Kristen's Classroom with meteorologist Kristen Currie. Kristen, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. A little sleepy after yesterday. It was a long day, but everybody made it out okay, so we do it all over again.
Yes, we had every single meteorologist here from beginning to end yesterday.
It was a long day, but this is where we earn our paycheck. And I will say, at the end of the day, I'm grateful that we never did have a confirmed tornado out of that one storm that we were tracking this time yesterday morning. We did have one confirmed tornado in Milam County, though. So, we were prepared. We were on air, and hopefully we kept everybody safe, and there wasn't any big property damage. I haven't heard of anything yet. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys at home know something that I don't, but just living through severe weather season one day at a time.
Yeah, and it looks like our skies are much, much clearer than they were yesterday, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, the fog yesterday was so weird. We had so much fog in the morning, and then that one tornadic supercell, and it was quasi supercell, didn't necessarily have that true form, but it moved from Gillespie County all the way up through Williamson County. Yeah. And like I mentioned, it never produced a confirmed tornado, but it was spinning. So at some point it could have, and we were on air for quite a bit yesterday. Today, definitely a much quieter day.
Well, again, our topic for today is going to be related to tornadoes and tornado safety plans. I noticed, I think it was early in the week, that you shared a photo a viewer sent you of them coming into a bunker to be protected. That was very interesting, and I'm sure not a lot of people have these.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it, because this is a big topic of discussion when I go into the classrooms. Because we don't have a lot of those true underground tornado shelters here in Central Texas, and it's a discussion that needs to be had with you and your family before a tornado watch or tornado warning specifically goes out. You want this to be second nature when we start to rattle those things off. So that's why I just said, let's talk about it. Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
Perfect. Okay, so when it comes to severe weather season, something to know is our hail risk typically peaks early May, which is, what I would consider us in right now. But that tornado risk, climatologically speaking, peaks mid-May. So we are right in that time frame here where, looking back with all of our data, this is the time of year where we really need to be watching any and every storm. That wind risk typically comes a little bit later in the late May and June timeframe. But when it comes to a tornado safe place, you're looking to put yourself in a place where there's as little risk as possible from debris. That's basically the dangerous part of a tornado, and what hurts most people is debris that tornado kicks around. So let's say this is my home. And then again, this is something that I want you guys to think about as your home, maybe a dinner time conversation. Think about your house. Think about the downstairs. Upstairs is off limits. We do not want to be upstairs. We don't want to be in an attic. We don't want to be upstairs. We want to be as low to the ground as possible, because, like I mentioned, the best place to be is underground. The best place to be is a tornado shelter or a basement, and both of those are very rare here in Central Texas.
For sure.
Yeah, there's so much rock underneath our feet, especially west of I-35. It is tough to dig, so they don't build homes with basements more often than not here in Central Texas. So what we encourage you to do is to find within your home, lowest level, the most interior room. Now, more often than not, that's going to be a bathroom or a closet. And this is the graphic we show on air when we cover tornadoes, because I would say you probably have some sort of downstairs bathroom, You're looking for a small room that doesn't have big walls that would fold in. So a room like a bathroom would be suitable. Downstairs closet, in my opinion, would be the best place to be. Yeah, because you're trying to put as many walls between you and the outside. And the reason we say that is because if there's a tornado outside and it starts flinging bricks and rocks and pieces of home and pieces of car, exactly, you want to make sure there's as many walls that piece of brick, house, car has to get through before it reaches you. So that is why we say most interior room downstairs. Now, something else to think about is, heaven forbid the roof comes out, or comes off, I should say, or the windows get blown out. You want to think about something that's going to protect one of the most important parts of you, your head, and even some of those vital organs. So You'll hear me say on TV, grab a helmet. What helmet? A helmet to ride a bike with, baseball, softball, horseback riding, motorcycle helmet, construction helmet. I don't care what kind of helmet it is. You just want something to protect your head. If you do not have a helmet, then you can use a pillow. You can use a blanket. You can use a stuffed animal, something squishy to help protect your head from falling debris. Sleeping bags, mattresses, comforters, something like that. A lot of the times you hear us say, if you're in the bathroom, you can lay down in the bathtub, right? Because that's that ceramic hard around your body.
And then you would put
the mattress or sleeping bag on top. The reason I've kind of strayed a little bit personally from telling folks to grab a mattress is because let's say you do have an upstairs, that mattress is upstairs. The time it would take you to grab that mattress, lug it all the way down to the downstairs bathroom and get you on top. Sometimes these warnings only give you a couple minutes, right? You only have a few minutes to get you, your family, 2 legs and 4, everybody, right? Everybody in the family needs to go into that tornado room. And I don't want it costing your life if you're running upstairs, grabbing that mattress and trying to get down a staircase, right? Yeah. If it's easy to do, then yes, go for it. Try and get that on top of you. But in this scenario, in more likely scenario, if there is a tornado that's bearing down on you, you want to just grab something squishy, something that's going to protect you, your body, from falling debris. That would be the main point there. And as we mentioned, best place to be would be a basement, underground. Tornadoes don't go underground. So the bigger or more efficient way you can bury yourself, the better. But there's the obvious ones of the garage. You don't want to be in the garage, right? That garage door is way too flimsy. That immediately will get blown out by a tornado. You obviously don't want to be out on the deck either. The reason the stairs is highlighted, sometimes you can hide in the stairs at the bottom, or more often than not, there's a little cubby underneath the stairs, a little room or a little cupboard that you could squeeze yourself in.
And we live in Austin, so there's lots of sky rises. In that situation, sometimes sky rises have basements, but is it going to be fast enough to get down there if you're at the top floor?
I'm glad you asked, because you do want to get as low to the ground as possible. So if you get a tornado warning on your phone, don't use the elevator, run yourself down to the bottom floor. If there's a parking garage, that would be a really good place to be. If there is a lobby bathroom, a lobby office, same rules like a house. You're trying to get yourself bottommost interior room. So
parking garage stairs,
absolutely. As long as it's underground, that would be a really good place to be. And the same thing, protecting your head with the helmet or blanket, those kind of things. But it's just not safe to be up high. You want to be as low to the ground as possible with tornadoes.
Here on your graphic, it says move inward. Let's say that the stairs are full of people trying to get down there. What's the second plan?
I would just say keep moving down to the ground. Move away from the windows, away from those outer walls. You're trying to separate yourself from that tornado. And oftentimes when it comes to tornado, it's throwing all sorts of things around, so the windows are the first to go. Mm-hmm. So you just want to make sure you're not next to any sort of glass. And I would hope that in the case of your apartment, you've got that interior stairwell or even like a fire stairwell to get into. But they say get in, get out, or get in, move in, and get down is typically the 3 that we get in, move in, get down. So you're inside, you're in as far away from the outer walls as possible and as low to the ground as possible.
And Kristen, we're talking about grabbing helmets, grabbing mattresses, but what really should people grab with them to take to their shelter or to take to their basement if there is a situation like this?
I think it kind of depends on how close that tornado is, unfortunately. And sometimes if, we put out, or the Weather Service puts out a tornado warning, and you're at the bottom of that county, and that, we can tell that storm is 10, 15 minutes from you, we can sometimes put a little tracker. You've seen us put a tracker on there, and it gives you the time estimate as to when that storm would reach you. If you've got 5 minutes, then grab the helmet, grab the blanket, grab a first aid kit, grab a couple snacks, a bottle of water, and throw it into your tornado room, the bathroom, and whatnot. If I'm saying get to cover immediately, this storm is bearing on top of you, then you just go
run
immediately. Yeah. And it's at that point, you're just trying to protect life, right? It doesn't matter about the property, it protects life. So you're looking for everybody who's home, your family, your pets, and you're getting to that place of safety.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Well, Kristen, we're going to take a quick little break, but when we're back, we'll continue this conversation.
Okay.
And we're back. We were just talking about what to grab when you're heading to safety after you get an alert from your KXAN weather app saying there's a tornado nearby. Kristen, what else can you tell us about being prepared for this?
Yeah, I think it's good to just kind of include all of the hazards in the conversation, right? Because if you've got a storm capable of a tornado, you've got a storm capable of damaging winds more often than not. That storm could be dropping hail on you. Obviously, the lightning threat, every thunderstorm is going to have lightning. That's what makes it a thunderstorm. But I also wanted to throw some things out for you guys to chew on. And again, we don't expect you to memorize all of this, right? But the goal is to talk about it frequently enough to where when you hear tornado warning or you hear that siren go off or that weather alert go off, that it pops up in your brain like, oh yeah, I remember to grab this, or I remember she said that, those kind of things, because of course our goal is to remind you on air too during those dangerous situations. But the weather app is a good alternative to the TV. And I say alternative, I should be using the word in addition to, right? Because we want to over communicate with you during a tornado. We want TV, radio, cell phone, app, the towers, some of the towns around us have tornado sirens. Yeah, multiple ways to get those alerts. The KXAN weather app is a good tool because you can set it to follow you. So sometimes, if you're at home, those tornado sirens are not meant to be heard from the inside. Those are for outside use. So if you're out on the field, great, you're probably going to be able to hear a nearby siren. But if you're inside with the TV on,
you're not going to hear it.
You're not going to hear it. Tornado sirens aren't meant for that. If this is sitting right next to you and it goes off, there's a much higher chance that you're going to be able to be notified of that tornado warning. So the weather app is, I think, a huge and critical piece when it comes to staying safe with tornadoes, because, and this was something that I actually saw online yesterday, tornado watch, a watch just means ingredients are there. That the ingredients are there, there's no tornado yet. A tornado warning, if you see warning with any weather alert, that means it's happening or it's about to happen. Whether that's a winter storm warning, tornado warning, severe thunderstorm warning, warning means action. So tornado warning means we either see a tornado or radar indicates a tornado, meaning we can see the thunderstorm spinning, or sometimes worst case scenario, we can use radar to detect debris. We call it a debris ball. We have a special setting on our radar where we can see that the tornado is lofting debris into the air, and radar thinks it's precipitation, but it's not. So those would be the three things that would trigger a warning, which means action. But you have to have the weather app or something to get that tornado warning to do that action. Brings us to the next one, the cell phone charge. We typically see severe weather in the afternoon when that battery is down to about 20% for a lot of us. We have to make sure our cell phones are charged during severe weather season, especially because that is sometimes your key resource. The power goes out and all of a sudden you have no way to hear my voice, to hear my teammates' voice, to get those alerts. So we always encourage you during severe weather season, during inclement weather, make sure you've got a charge on your cell phone. Make sure your weather radio is charged because it could be, a life-saving tool to get information. If you don't have it, you're just in the dark, right? Mm-hmm. You're trying to guesstimate when that tornado is here and gone and whether or not there's another one behind it. And it's not something we would encourage you to do. Others are just kind of practical, right? If we're talking about hail on TV, try and park your car underneath some sort of cover at home or at work, at the grocery store, things like that. And then just preparing your home for damaging winds, because oftentimes, whether it's a tornado or not, those pillows, yard rakes, anything outside become projectiles in 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. So the last thing you want to do is repair your living room window because you accidentally left, a patio chair outside. Yeah. Tuck those into the house. Perfect world, you put them in the garage. If you don't have that, tuck them real close into the house, put something heavy on them, and that would be a key thing to do.
Or put them into the house.
Exactly, yeah. And it's interesting because if we ever anticipate some really big winds, I'll take down my flag. I've got an American flag on the front of my house. I'll take down my flag. I'll bring in any holiday decorations and stuff because if not, you're just going to lose it, right? So if you do see it, forget the fact that it could be flying through your living room window. Like, you're going to lose it with these kind of winds, tornado or not. So different things to think about. And that's why I say it's a lot of information. Do this, do this, do this. Make sure your phone's charged. Make sure everything's inside. Make sure the pets are inside so you can find them during a tornado. I get it. It's a lot. That's why we're here on TV reminding you, taking you step by step. Hey, make sure, this morning, we don't anticipate tornadoes, but if yesterday we were talking about severe weather, make sure you keep maybe the dog and cat inside today. That way, if a tornado warning is issued, you're not outside looking for Fido. You know exactly where he is in the house, and it takes 2 seconds to get him into the bathroom.
Yes, and like you mentioned when we started talking this morning, be prepared and plan this with your family members. Now, at the breakfast table, sketch out your house.
Exactly.
Make a game plan and be ready.
And something else, and I wrote about this in the blog too, is a key piece I think people forget is talking through what happens if we get separated. Mm-hmm. What happens if all of a sudden, I don't know where you are. Who do I go to? Where would I go? More often than not, it's a neighbor, right? Make sure your kids have that relationship with a next door neighbor that they could go to, that they would feel comfortable with, that they could say, hey, I don't know where my mom is, right? If there is ever severe weather. Or have that discussion of, police officers can be intimidating, but in that kind of situation, they're here to help. Yeah. If you see a police car in the driveway after a tornado goes through or after a hail goes through and you're home by yourself, you can ask that man or that woman for help. They're there to help you during the case of severe weather. So having those conversations with your kids and with your family of what happens if, when we talk about wildfires, making sure somebody knows where you are that's outside of the region, right? Making sure an out-of-state relative or an out-of-state friend knows, hey, I'm going to evacuate to my neighbor's house on the other side of Austin. So just in case all of a sudden the news comes and says, we don't know where this family is, there's at least somebody out there who knows where you are.
Yes, that's very true and needs to be discussed ahead of time.
I think it's one of those pieces where you don't think about it, right? You think about, everybody's going to be together in that tornado room, but you have to kind of plan for the worst and hope for the best. And in that situation, it's terrifying to think of being separated in during a disaster or some sort of weather event. But if we're talking about it, if okay, for whatever reason, I get separated from you, I know I can meet at Charlotte's house, or I know I can find my mom, if she's okay, at the mailbox 2 houses down, at Mr. Jones's house, things like that. Those markers that the whole family knows, okay, if we get separated, I know to go to that mailbox and wait, or tell a police officer and wait.
Yeah, and today we have all these apps that track your phone. So if you have relatives anywhere, make sure that they're tracking you so they can see without having to communicate where you are.
For sure. Even a coworker. I mean, traffic out, my Erica, one of our morning reporters, Barrett, they have my location, and we joke about it being like, in case I'm ever stuck under a heavy rock. But when it comes down to it, if there ever is that kind of situation, you think about if I go missing, who are they going to contact first? Family, friends, coworkers. So those are going to be the 3, at least one of every group, ideally, if you can let, someone in your family know, one of your friends and one of your coworkers know where you are at all times, just in case of emergency. I mean, heck, I got nothing to hide, right? More often than not, it's going to be work, home, maybe the winery, and that's it.
They'll know where you are. Well, we have your article here published on our website, kxan.com, and you can find it on the homepage. It's titled Creating a Tornado Safety Plan for Your Family. Kristen, you have all of those graphics in here, right?
Yes.
Just looked up?
Yes, they should be all there. And if you've got questions, please reach out. I know this is kind of doom and gloom and scary to talk about, but like I said, the key to preparation is being aware and talking about it beforehand, because you're really, when the adrenaline gets going and the fear gets going, sometimes you're just not thinking straight. So to have this, in your brain or even written down so the family knows is I think really, really important.
I had a question. What about the weather for today? What is it going to look like?
Yes, so I'll leave you with the 7-day forecast. We do have a few isolated storms today and tomorrow. Nothing like yesterday. It was interesting. The data this morning was really pessimistic about storms, which, again, we got some good rain yesterday in many areas. So I'm not too disappointed. We got to be careful about the flooding threat with back-to-back rain events. But I would say handful of storms possible today, handful of storms possible tomorrow. Low-end severe risk. Hail and winds still possible, not likely to see tornadoes, although it's never zero here in Central Texas, especially this time of year. And then we hit a really nice stretch heading into Mother's Day weekend. We've got sunshine and 80s, and that continues into next week too.
Yeah, Nick told me that rain seems to no longer be on the radar for the rest of the month.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. At least, I would say today and tomorrow there's hope. This weekend, I wouldn't hold my breath, and next week is trending dry.
Boo. Well, we are glad we got that bit of rain early this month.
Yes.
We definitely needed it here in Texas.
We sure did. Yeah, it was nice to see some of those videos of waters in the river and in the creeks and all that.
Hasn't been in there in a long time.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for joining us, Kristen.
Of course.